Twitter is a place where free speech gets tested in pretty much every possible way every single day. And everyone knows that there's a really thin line between harassment and free speech. And it really depends on where you are and how much power you have and how big a mouth you have and how thick a skin you have. And if we really take a lid off of that, if we forget everything that Twitter's learned since 2007, it's 15 years that it's been going now, and reset that, I think probably a lot of people are going to get hurt.
And really, the reset is almost beside the point now because he's going to come in and upend all of that. Do we have any sense as to how he wants Twitter to operate, what sort of platform he wants it to be?
Well, I mean, based on his tweets, which have ranged from interesting to indecipherable,
to bizarre.
We do know that he wants to be a very open platform, that he wants everyone to be able to say pretty much whatever they want. And again, this is going to be problematic. But we also think that he sees this as being a real place where people can identify themselves and their community. So different than Facebook, I think, but really we're a place where Twitter becomes part of your identity in a deeper way. I think that this is something that people have wanted Twitter to be, but Twitter is so many things to so many different people. There are so many different communities on Twitter who do their own thing and basically don't know about any of the other communities. Establishing that kind of identity is going to be difficult.
So explain to us, you know, in terms of trying to be your own person and really have your own identity, there's also this whole issue of bullying, of lying, of fake news and fake information that gets transmitted. So how is he going to traverse that minefield?
And he has sworn, again, one of the public statements is that he's sworn that he will take the spam bots down, you know, with his dying breath, basically. He said he'll do that. And, you know, he'll only get chairs for doing that. I think information and disinformation and the very clever ways that disinformation spreads in networks becomes a much thornier issue. It's broadly believed that Twitter takes a much easier tone with political figures and with celebrities who can get away with saying all sorts of things. Elon himself said a whole bunch of things about vaccines and about when the pandemic would end and, you know, that the lockdowns were unnecessary early in the pandemic that he kind of got away with, even if they weren't necessarily true in the public health sense. And so Twitter is going to be confronting these same issues. These issues don't go away when there's a new owner, and they don't even go away if the new owner has a different strategy, because people will continue behaving as they have behaved.
Yeah. Interestingly himself, Elon Musk he likes to criticize, he doesn't like to be criticized. His staff find it very difficult to speak out. He has Tesla, which is the second biggest car selling in China. How is he going to moderate that? So is he going to do one thing, have one set of rules for himself and another set of rules for other people?
And I think this is leading him to the relatively simple explanation that it's just going to be open to all. But the problem is open to all in that way means it will be really poisonous to at least some people in a way that Twitter works, you know, with some degree of success. I mean, we can't say it's perfectly successful, but they have some degree of success around keeping the worst trolls and the worst cases of abuse off the system. You can't reset that without lighting a bin fire in the middle of the internet's conversation space.
So, Mark, you know, he has said that freedom of speech is paramount to this bid that he's made and has now been successful at. Even if he loses money, even if, you know, it's almost like a free service. But the money that he's paid so well over the odds for Twitter, how is that going to line up?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we have to remember that it was business, right? 38% premium over the listed stock price. And so the board simply could not say no. The board would have been sued if they'd said no to that kind of deal. And so you do have to wonder whether even the richest person in the world is willing to basically throw away 10% of his fortune in something that he doesn't think is going to pay for itself. There are a lot of interesting ways that people have suggested that Twitter can provide new revenue streams without compromising the nature of the platform, which is something Facebook really hasn't done. And so I think you'll see a lot of innovation in that space. That will change Twitter. I don't know that it will change it fundamentally, but it will certainly make the experience different. It will also mean that the kinds of information people can get from Twitter could well change.
Interesting. Okay, the question of the day for you is, will he allow Donald Trump back on the platform?
Gosh. That is, I mean, if he's really being true to his ideal of, basically a free and open space for conversation, then he probably has no choice but to let Donald Trump back onto the platform. Whether that's going to be welcomed by all of the different governments of the world who really did not enjoy being beat up on by Mr. Trump is an open question. And I think the other thing is, the idea of free speech that Elon has is an American idea that's codified very specifically in American law. In Australian law, it's very different. In European law, it's very different. And so how do you reconcile all of those different definitions of what free speech is?